Okay. Okay. It's happening. It's working. It's working. It's working. It's working. When things work out technologically, it's almost like a minor miracle nowadays because it moves so fast. Technology does, at least. All right. All right. This is a different thing, of course. Normally, one, we don't live stream on YouTube much anymore. Two, for those of us who are going through the Jeremiah series, we're taking a pause. I don't think it's an impulsive pause, though, if I can make that statement myself. I was going through the Torah portion this week, and it arrested me in so many ways, in ways probably that I didn't even realize. And as I was sitting and thinking about how I was going to approach Jeremiah chapter 13, because that is the current chapter we're in for Jeremiah on Patreon. So for those of you who are watching on YouTube, the videos that are being uploaded in sequential order, but we're actually further than that in our Jeremiah study. So we're in Jeremiah chapter 13 on YouTube. I believe you guys are on chapter 2, heading into chapter 3, 5. That'll be posted today at 2:00 for those of you who want to watch it in the premiere or watch it live. That'll be posted today at 2:00. And so just keeping that in mind for all of you who are like, what happened to yesterday's Shabbat lesson? You want to know the truth? I forgot to post it. It was on my scheduling and I forgot to post it. Anywho, so we're going to be looking at Numbers chapter 13 and 14 today. That's where the context, that's where the text will be for what we're talking about, but we're using that in a greater context for the title you see, which is When Yah Sends You. Now, the title of the Torah portion was Shalach, which means to send out. And we're going to go through the text, but really what I want to focus on today, and if I don't get you to get anything else, and in the most pop culture modern terms ever, is how to not fumble your bag of deliverance. Like, if we don't get anything else, that's what I want you to get through your head today. We're going to be hovering around the area of fear and doubt and how that comes in. And truly, I really, it's one of those things. I have notes in front of me, and I was talking to the ladies before we got started. And I was like, there's so many different directions this can go. So think of this more as a biblical dialogue between sisters, between mishpacha, on the concept of how to not fumble this opportunity for deliverance. And I'm going to get into all of that, but I want you to really just really just center in on that. And I feel like that's so important, especially today in the times that we live in, because not just the doubt that exists within us, but the doubt that's sown in us. Not just the fear that exists within us, but the fear that's sown within us. So I want you guys to just sit with that for a second. Fear, doubt, and particularly concerning the promise of deliverance. We're going to get into deliverance today. And I want you guys to really look at this holistically. Give me 1 second. Because this is a live studio audience, I'm going to turn off my camera very briefly and close my window so you don't hear the trash man come by. All right, give me 1 second. And that's TV magic. Okay. All right. We're going to jump right into it. I'm going to try not to. I hope I don't. I'm going to try not to read too much. I am going to bombard you with a bunch of verses to start off with, because setting the frame, setting the context is important. I also hope that through the process of this, that you guys do two things. I'm setting the tones that your brain is able to do these multiple things at one time. I want you to hear what I'm saying, but I also want you to focus on the questions I asked and the development of how we're going to get to why fear, doubt, and deliverance, they don't mesh well together, okay? So I'm going to start you off with some context when we get into the text of where we are, some timelining, more TV magic, some timelining of where things are and why that's important. A lot of times we read through the scriptures and we read through them kind of like, I don't think with an understanding of where we are in time. Time matters. Timeline matters. For instance, check this timeline out. Do you know that the stuff we read between the Exodus, and Kadesh Barnea, which we will be when they actually get to like, when they go in, the spies go into the land, that's about 1.5 years, 2 years. All that stuff, the manna, the quail, the murmuring, Mount Sinai, all of those things happen within 1.5 years to a 2-year span. And then after the 1.5 years, 2-year span, they were in the wilderness for 40 years. So about 38 to 40 years when you do all the numbers and then when they come out. So it's 40-year period, but that happened after Yah tolerated them. And all of that stuff still was giving them the land after golden calf. I want you to really, really put your brain on that. Like golden calf, sacrificial system, murmuring, Miriam, all that. And Yah still was like, now go look at this land I'm going to give you. I want you to really frame that because I feel like one of the biggest missing elements to a lot of people's faith walk in the truth is that they don't know the truth of Yah and how he deals with us. And so in knowing Yah, we get a better understanding of what this relationship is supposed to look like and how to put fear, doubt, shame, guilt to the side and walk out this path. There are a lot of people listening, probably who won't unfollow me, who are really, really dealing with a lot of fear, shame, guilt, self-hatred, even after understanding who they are biologically, but not who they are in Yah. And it is causing a huge amount of contention. It's causing a lot of the frustration for people who are in the walk. And it goes back to the fact that we don't have a proper understanding of what the promise of deliverance was from the beginning, what that meant to the nation, what that meant to the people. So we're going to dive into that. I need you to know that 2-year timeline because that's important. That's a lot of stuff popping off in 2 years. And a lot of us live like that now. We're like, you don't even know how many things probably happen on a day-to-day basis. And I feel like Yah has it that way and allows us to see it that way because none of those things stopped Yah from being and doing what he was going to do until it did stop him. And I think we need to know the difference between the sin and the mistake in learning, the sin and the mistakes in coming out of a traumatic and disenfranchised mindset versus being completely obstinate, being in fear and in doubt, and not trusting and allowing Yah to do exactly what he's going to do, and then having to live in the consequence of that. And that's a lot. That's why it's recorded. You can always go back. Okay. So context, time frame. When does this take place? A lot of people read the text and they don't know when things take place. Like, okay, when did this take place? When was this thing happening? And I mean seasonally, I mean around feast days. Those are questions that we should be asking as we're exploring the text because they matter in the overall context and culture of what we're learning. So let's get into it. I'm not going to keep giving you these like elusive what's happening. So let's get into it. People have asked me, guard your eyes. I'm scrolling because I was reading further down. Like what Bible program are you using? It's Logos. It's a Bible program called Logos. And then there's like a Hebrew pack that you can put in. It allows you to read simultaneously. There's ways to figure it out. If you have questions, email us. We'll shoot you a link to, explore what works best for you. That's the program. That's why you see both things. If you see me clicking something, that is just the components in the program. Of course, all of these things can be done on your own using multiple resources, but for all intents and purposes, and for the ease of use, this is what we're using. All right, Numbers chapter 13. Jump right into it. It starts off with, and Yah spake unto Moshe, saying, send thou, that's the word shalach, that's why it's titled shalach, So now men, that they may search, the word for search is to literally like scope it out, see what's happening, just observe, look through it, explore, that they may explore the land of Canaan, which I give unto the children of Israel. Of every tribe of their fathers shall ye send a man, every one a ruler among them. I'm going to stop right there. There's something that is imperative, and it's not giving what it should be giving in English. In English, it says, send now men that they may search the land of Canaan, which I give into the children of Israel. Right off the bat, that may make you think of like, which I'm like going to give. The text there and how that word is given, it's in the form of giving. He says, go tell them to look at the land that I'm giving them. This is something that has already been promised to the children of Israel. This is something that is already been promised to them. That's super, 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 super important to know, that it's not something that he's saying it's contingent upon. No, I've already promised it. I'm giving it to you. So in this text, Yah is telling them, I'm seeking to fulfill my promise to you on a land that I've already promised, literally all the way back to Abraham. So let's just look at when Yah promised to give this land. Let's go first to, and actually I'll open up a new window in this handy dandy program, and we're going to go to Genesis chapter 12. In Genesis chapter 12, Yah takes Abraham and he says, leave, lech lecha, get out of your country, your father's house, and I'm going to make a great nation of you, and I'm going to bless him that bless you and curse him that curse you. And Abraham goes out. That's the beginning of the promise. Yah says, hey, come on, I'm going to show you some things. Start to way back in Genesis. We're in Numbers, right? We're far, far away from these points. But Yah made a promise when he told him to go that he was going to send him somewhere and bless him. Then in Genesis 26:3, remember, I'm going fast. You can always pause. And we can go back up a little bit more. So he says, don't go into Egypt. He goes, sojourn in this land, and I will be with you. Verse 3, and bless you, for unto you and unto your seed will I give all these countries, and I will perform the oath which I swear unto Abraham your father, and I will make your seed to multiply as the stars of heaven. So then the promise then passes down. Remember, the promised land is not just modern day Israel, but it's from the Nile to the Euphrates. It's an expansive piece of land. And so Canaan, this particular area, is a portion of the promise, this land flowing with milk and honey. And they were supposed to go into this particular area, drive out their enemies, and then inherit the whole thing. All right, let's look at Genesis 28:13. And so Yah comes again, and he's speaking to generation after generation. And behold, Yah stood above it and said, I am Yah, your Elohim, the Elohim of Abraham, and the Elohim of Isaac. And so, of course, it didn't say Elohim of Jacob, so he's talking to Jacob. The land whereon thou liest, to thee will I give it, and to your seed. And your seed shall be as the dust of the earth, and they shall spread out to the west, to the east, to the north, and to the south. And through your seed shall all the families in the earth be blessed. This goes on over and over and over again. Exodus 3:8, Exodus 3:17-18, Exodus 13:5, Joshua 24:13, Genesis 15:18, all the way through 91. Genesis 50:24. This is something that literally the ancestors before waited on. They waited on the fulfillment of having a land, having a place that was their own. And when we get to Numbers chapter 13, Yah is literally saying, now you're going to go in, you're going to look at this land, and you're going to see this land not as a land that belongs to other people, but as a land that's being given to you. I'm going to take a quick TV magic pause because I don't think anybody wants my computer to die. Give me 1 second. And just like that, we're back like I never left. All right, so let's go just really quick before we go back to Numbers. Let's go to Genesis 6. We're going to go Genesis 6. I mean, Exodus 6. I'm sorry. We're going to Exodus 6. And we're going to go down to verse 8. And this is where we're going to begin our context on deliverance. So the children of Israel are in this land of bondage. They're in Mitzrayim, they're in Egypt. They've had strong oppression against them. And Yah is coming to do something that he outlines so beautifully in this text. So let's actually go back a little bit further. Let's go back to verse 6. Verse 6 says, "Wherefore say unto the children of Israel," Yah is telling Moshe to say unto the children of Israel, "I am Yah, and I'm going to bring you out from the burdens of the Egyptians," period. That's it. I'm just going to bring you out, throw you out in the wilderness. You're done. You were in bondage. You don't have to worry about it anymore. Live your life. You're free. That's not the Yah we serve. He didn't just say, "I'm going to stop the abuse from happening." He didn't just say, "I'm going to stop you from being in bondage. I'm going to bring you out from under the burdens. You're no longer going to be a slave." There's more to the promise than that. And as we sit on the other side of a 400-year captivity in the land of our captors, a lot of people have rested in the fact that you are free from overt oppressive behavior, also known as chattel slavery, and have not yet embraced the full picture of deliverance that Yah laid out. It wasn't just to stop working for free. It wasn't just not having autonomy over your bodies. It wasn't just having your children, not having your children sold off. It wasn't just not being in an oppressive position. That's not the fullness. The rescuing part from that's just general. I'm not that it's general, but that's just salvation. Salvation happens over and over and over and over and over again throughout our whole lives. We are constantly being saved. But Yah, and the way that he views his chosen, is not just to rescue them from danger, but to deliver them to freedom. That is the beauty of Pesach. That's the beauty of being made a nation. That's the beauty of being given laws. That's the beauty of having Yah as your Elohim. It's not just getting from under burdens, but because of our minds, we're so used to just not being hurt that we don't think of the beauty of actually experiencing blessing. And we think that's some, religious mumbo jumbo that happens in certain religious denominations that tell you that you should prosper and you should have good, and it's taken out of context. But I'm going to show you today that it's not. So let's start here. He says, "I will bring you from under the burdens of the Egyptians, comma, and I will rid you of their bondage." Not just not being under their burdens, but actually getting you from under their bondage, comma, "and I will redeem you with an outstretched arm and with great judgments, and I will take you to me for a people, and I will be to you an Elohim, and you will know that I am your Elohim, which brings you out from under the burdens of the Egyptians, and I will bring you unto a land concerning that which I swear to give to Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, and I will give it to you for an heritage. I am Yah." It was not just, they're going to stop beating you and killing your kids, and then you'll get to leave, and then it's just going to be terrible. No, he says, there's a list of things. I'm going to deliver you. You're going to become my people. All that stuff is the full package of what it means to be considered the children of Yah. It's not just knowing who you are. It's not just not being oppressed, but it's also the other side of having all those other beautiful things attached. But trauma gets in the way. And people go, oh, it's such an overuse. Well, why would you say? Well, it's in the next verse. So let's see what happens. And Moses spake so. Moses came and he told the people, he said, check this out. All that stuff I just read. But guess what? But they hearken not unto Moses. Why? For anguish of spirit and for cruel bondage. Because they were so beat down and oppressed, and because they were so traumatized by the bondage, they couldn't accept the good that came with deliverance. They couldn't accept the good that came with deliverance. The promise was not just to get them out of bondage, but to deliver them. Deliverance is the full enactment and fulfillment of all deferred hope during the time of bondage. It's the fullness of it. Moses told this to the Israelites, but because of their broken spirit, because of their cruel bondage, they didn't listen. And their trauma and their doubt got between them and the promise. So now you're dealing with a people, essentially, this same generation, that 2-year period I talked about, this same generation with this mindset and with these traumas are now going to experience Pesach. Kind of fast forward. They get manna. They see the cloud. They see the Shekinah. They see all of these things happening and literally get all the way to the point where Yah says, I'm giving you this land that I've been telling your ancestors that I'm going to give them. Same land I told you that I was going to give you when I delivered you. The time has come. It's here. And the same people are going to still doubt the deliverance. And so often we sit on the other side, right? On the other side, we go, I would never do that. That wouldn't be me. I wouldn't doubt Yah. Right now, I believe Yah. I believe Yah to bring me, into his land. I believe Yah and his promises. And I've, in my mind's eye, and as Dr. Gaffney would say, in my sanctified imagination, I can see Yah being like, really? Because you doubt me and you're doubting my promise and you're doubting my deliverance right now because you're waiting for deliverance in the extraordinary, and I'm delivering you in the ordinary toward the extraordinary. It's how you embrace and how you trust the promise in the ordinary steps that leads to the extraordinary. That's why it's for those who endure. It's not those for who just endure persecution. It's those who endure the small steps in between, because sometimes the test is not even persecution. It may just be you trusting him to walk in the promise that he gave you. And sometimes we find ourselves being chastised in the promise because of doubt when we could have just embraced the promise and received it. Very, 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 very same people. And so as we sit, I want you to transport yourself away from these lofty thoughts that we have about ourselves, about these grandiose imaginations of our lack of doubt and fear and insecurity with moving forward in Yah's promise, and then take a dose of reality that all of us are on a journey to learn and trust Yah. We're not better than Abraham. Abraham questioned, Abraham feared, Abraham doubted in the process. Yet Abraham understood the process of when I fear and when I doubt, I didn't fumble the bag though. Pass it down to the next generation. Many of us are really, really running a very, very tight course toward fumbling the bag for the next generation because we can't see how close we are to the promise in the ordinary things because we have our eyes fixed on miraculous and extraordinary things that are only found in the ordinary. Okay? Just keep that in mind. So just like many of them heard the promise about being rescued, they were like, yes. Many people heard the promise about, oh, Yah's going to be mine and I'm going to be called Yah's child. Yes. But when it came to those other components, the way they felt about themselves because of trauma, oppression, disenfranchisement, systemic racism, and so forth, so all all that, it caused them to have doubt in areas. And I feel like that's a thing that's underdealt with. So we're going to talk about that a little bit today. So we're going to talk about who told you that you were unworthy of Yah's promise, not of your promise, not what you did, but something that was a gift to you that you have no right to boast in. You have no right to brag in. You have no right to have any stake in, because it's a gift, not of works, so that you couldn't take on that disposition. Who told you that you were unworthy of somebody giving you something because that's what they wanted to do, especially when that somebody is Yah? You have to check that. We're going to check that. We're going to talk about breaking our relationship with doubt and fear, because it leads to some catastrophic outcomes. And then we're going to look at when Yah promised you something, he's going to fulfill it fully. It's all on him. Our job in it is very, very small, but our small part can really, really yield, like I said, some catastrophic outcomes when we lie on Yah and when we exercise pride and fear and doubt over trust. All right. And just so, I mean, some of us are not as, long-winded as others. I'm gonna give you a couple of verses, because we need to shape. And I've been doing this in the Jeremiah study, and I will continue doing this unless Yah says something different until the day I take my last breath. And that is reshaping how we feel about Yah and how Yah feels about us based upon what Yah said, and not what religion, groups, camps, factions tell us based upon our issues. We have to just really have to fix that. So let's do a little bit of fine tuning, because we need to hear it. We should hear it as much as often. Let's hear what Yah says about us. Jeremiah 29:11 says, "For I know the thoughts that I think toward you." So Yah's like, I know the thoughts I think toward you. We're so concerned with the thoughts that other people think about us that they told us Yah thought toward us. And Yah was like, I know the thoughts I think toward you. And these are Yah's thoughts toward you. Thoughts of peace and not of dysfunction. Thoughts of shalom, not dysfunction. To give you an expected end. To give you an expected end. Then shall ye call upon me, and you shall pray unto me, and I will hearken to you. And you shall seek me and find me when you search for me with all of your heart. And I will be found. Yah's not hiding. I will be found of you, saith Yah, and I will turn away your captivity, and I will gather you from all the nations and from all the places whither I have driven you, saith Yah, and I will bring you again into the place which I caused you to be carried away captive. It's not just one part. He says, people stop at, Yah thinks about me. He's like, I don't just think. There's a difference between thinking and thoughts. Thinking happens, thoughts require action. He's like, I have actions in place when I think about you. And they're actions of peace. I never want you to experience dysfunction, and I want to move you to the expected end. So when you call on me and pray unto me and hearken, I'm going to hearken when you seek me, and I'm going to be found of you. That's another layered component. All right, here's another one. Let's go to James chapter 1, and we're going to go down to, let's start right here, verse 2. My brethren, right? That's everyone. This is the totality of the congregation. People like, it's only for men. And no, when it's speaking to a general congregation, you're going to be spoken to in the masculine. So all y'alls, count it all joy when you fall into diverse temptations, knowing this, that the trying of your faith worketh patience, but let patience have her perfect work, that ye may be perfect and entire, wanting nothing. If any of you lack wisdom, let him ask of Elohim, that giveth unto all men liberally, and upbraideth not, and it shall be given unto you. But let him ask in faith, not wavering. For he that wavereth is like a wave of the sea, driven with the wind and tossed. For let not that man think that he shall receive anything of Yah. A double-minded man is unstable in all of his ways. Let the brother of low degree rejoice when he is exalted, but the rich in that he is made low, because as the flower of the grass, he shall pass away. So he goes through and he gives a whole bunch of those things. Read the whole thing through always. If I start not at the beginning, put it in context and continue reading so you get the full thing. The point of that is two things: faith without doubt. Don't be double-minded. And that Yah has good for you. Know those two things as we move forward. For those of you, this may be the end of your journey with us, and you got a fullness of it. So we'll catch you on the other side. For those of us who are still trekking forward, we're going to continue through with looking at the psychology of doubt briefly, and then we're going to go and look at the fullness of Numbers chapter 13. The reason why I feel like I had to give an extensive background on that is because, one, I don't think that we read scripture in these areas. I think a lot of people are focused on a bunch of other things, unfortunately, but not in understanding the relationship between us and Yah, and how Yah sees us, and what that means for us being able to be stable, for us being able to relax, for us being able to not have these out of whack stress and cortisol levels, because we are constantly looking at all the variables and not looking at who Yah is to us. The whole point of knowing and coming into the knowledge that you're Israel and walking in the law, statutes, and commandments is for this. It's for the deliverance. It's for the promise. It's for the ability to be able to finally, no matter where you are on the planet in your diaspora, to rest in the truth that Yah is mine and I am his and he has me. I can literally take off the burden of captivity no matter where I am, because being his, he sees me all the time. That's the importance. It's not just to know so I can tell people that I'm a child of Yah, or I can flex my heritage or my right to the land, or it's none of that. It's all so that I can finally take off this heavy burden of oppression and captivity, and take off hypervigilance, and take off self-defense, and be able to say, Yah is for me. Yah has me. I'm his. And being his, I don't have to worry because he sees me. That is greater than any gifting that a person can tell you comes with this. That's greater than any acknowledgement. Yah sees me. I don't care if the rest of the world sees me. He sees me. All right, so let's look at doubt just briefly. So the psychology of doubt, just a little bit on the background on doubt. Doubt is an emotional thing. Doubt is emotional. It can be like an intellectual thing, but on an emotional level, it is the indecision between belief and disbelief. Many believe that it also involves uncertainty, distrust, lack of conviction, knowing like you know, I hold this to be true, lack of conviction on certain facts, actions, motives, and decisions. So you can doubt a person's motive. You can doubt their decisions for you. You can doubt the facts. And a lot of time for us, that doubt is based on who we are and what we've done that causes us to doubt how people may be treating us, or how Yah may be wanting to bless us. Because how can Yah want to do these things for me when I'm not perfect, when I'm not sinless, when I have done things, when I could be considered a bad person, when I've made mistakes, when I will make mistakes, when I know I have a long way to go, when my mom doesn't love me, when my dad doesn't love me, when my community doesn't love me, when people think that I am the lowest on the earth, when I am being treated as all of the scum of the earth, how then can the God of heaven and earth love me and see me this way when nobody else does? And that can make you doubt the facts. That can make you doubt the motives. That can make you doubt the decision. That can make you doubt your ability to walk in something, because it's being placed on you and not on the person not on Yah, who's doing the thing for you. We are even more comfortable being like that to other people, seeing their flaws and doing for them, because we're hoping that we can restructure the way we think about ourselves by doing that to other people. So then we're kind and understanding and compassionate to people, but we're not that way to ourselves. And we don't think we're deserving of that. But Yah has said it, and he's going to show in the passage, and I've already showed you in a bunch, that you are not deserving, but he has set his sights on you. So he's pursuing you and going to make you into an image bearer of his goodness if you just let him. It's like, I already knew how you were. If you've been listening to Jeremiah, then you know how this fits in. So I'm not going to rehash it. If you haven't, you should go check it out. Be able to see how Yah sees us. Doubt can result in the psychological effects of doubt, just in general, can result in delaying or rejecting the relative action or relevant action out of concerns for mistakes or miss opportunities or lack of worth to have those opportunities. You can, in short term, talk yourself out of something good because of your doubt. You can delay and miss the opportunity or reject it outright because you doubt whether or not that thing is yours, or you even trust that person's even being that good to give you what you see. We've all done it. You ever see a deal and you're like, that's too good to be true. It must be a scam. It must be blah, blah, blah. There has to be a hook to it. That's how we go about the deliverance and the promises of Yah. There must be something more to it. It must not be about me. There has to be something wrong. Somebody's lying. Huldah is just drinking the sauce because she doesn't want to believe that she's a terrible person. So she's telling us these things. And honestly, I can see other verses where Yah says, you go on and you beat yourself down and you miss the opportunity. And yes, an opportunity can very much be missed. So let's walk through. We're going to walk through it. And we're going to walk through the text. I'm going to skip over a bunch of things. So for those of you who are like, I thought you were going to read through all of Numbers. I'm not. I'm going to focus more on what's here that we're going to go through in the lesson. And you can go back and read through it. And many of you probably have already read through the Torah portion. So in Numbers chapter 13, verse 1, going back here, he says, I'm giving this to you. If Yah says that something is given to you, it is yours. Now, what you can do is you can delay the time frame in which you're given something or completely be disinherited. But when Yah says something is yours, oh my goodness, just like Jeremiah did when we talked about it in a previous chapter, he's like, oh, that's simple. I'll take it. Easy. So you have the men go out from the various tribes, all 12 tribes, and Moses sends the men out. I think it's important to note that Caleb is sent out. Caleb, by the text, not by people's whatever, is a Kenizzite. From Numbers chapter 32, you'll find that. Numbers chapter 32 and 12. Joshua 14:16 and verse 14. He is a Kenizzite. A Kenizzite is a son of Abraham. Abraham, Isaac, Jacob. Line split. Jacob, Esau. Esau, Kenaz. Kenaz, Caleb. Wrestle with that on your own. Maybe we might talk about it later, but that's something you can wrestle with. Caleb, the Kenizzite, is over the tribe of Judah. He's leading the charge. He's going out as their representative to see the promised land. Very, very important to point out that Caleb is pointed out by name, and his lineage is constantly attached for a very, very specific reason. Something that people definitely need to reckon with. That's not the point of this lesson, but I cannot skip over who went out without bringing that up. Okay, so they're told to go out. Verse 17, Moses says, spy out the land. Look at it, see it. He goes, go southward to the mountains, see the land, what she is. No, it's in Hebrew, what she is, and the people that dwell therein, whether they be strong or weak, few or many, and what the land is that they dwell in, whether it be good or bad, functional or dysfunctional. What cities they be that they dwell in. Do they live in tents? Do they live in houses? Do they live in constructed strong, walled places? And what the land is. whether it be fat or lean. Is it, bountiful, or is it, barren? Is there wood therein or not? And he says, be chazak, be of good courage, be strong, and bring the fruit of the land. He's like, bring the fruit of the land. Now, the time was the time of the first ripe grapes. Remember, I told you, look out for those clues when you're reading. The first ripe grapes in Israel normally happen between June and September. That's the first ripe grapes in the grape harvest. It's really, really important because it's directly after Shavuot. So they're betrothed, they get all this stuff, they're in the wilderness, I told you, for a year and a half or so. And then Yah's finally like, go out there, go look, go get these first ripe grapes. They just fresh off of Shavuot. I feel like that's so important for us too, being just fresh off of Shavuot, that we don't find ourselves in the season of bountifulness, the season of harvest, the season of receiving the promise, and we doubt and fear the promise because year after year after year, after all Yah's done and all the ways we've been able to look at his feast days and live through them, that we are still so detached from his promise that we find ourselves doing the same things over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. And then we have nerve enough to look to Yah and say, what is Yah not doing? How are we not getting it? We're not getting it because we've begun to adopt the mind frame of our ancestors, that we can see all these things that Yah is doing, but cannot get rid of the us. We can't remove us out of the way and focus on Yah. We're so busy focusing and fighting with other people, keeping other people in bondage, that we have turned our back on the promise of deliverance. So it's the time of the first grapes. It's important. We know what time it is. It's like summers, the time of the harvest. So they went up, like he said, no problem here. They searched the land from the wilderness of Zin to Rehov, as men come to Hamath, and they ascended by the south, and they came to Hebron, where Ahiman, Sheshai, and Talmai, the children of Anak, were. Now, Hebron was built 7 years before Zoan in Egypt. And they came into the brook Eshcol, and cut down from thence a branch with one cluster of grapes, and they bare it between two upon a staff, and they brought pomegranates and figs. And the place was called Eshcol because the cluster of grapes the children cut down from thence. And they returned from searching of the land after 40 days. 40 days is a time of testing. Two things that are important to point out. Eshcol. Eshcol, the word here, it comes from the root word shachal, which means literally cluster of grapes. Eshcol does, but it can also mean to miscarry. That's why I mentioned, fumbling the bag earlier. Literally means the idea of miscarrying. In this passage, which is why I love the scripture, which I will not argue with the text in any way, because I don't think I'll be alive long enough to even be able to scratch the surface of it. But the fact that there is this portion in here about Eshcol and a cluster of grapes, it can mean the idea of bringing bountiful fruit. That's what the cluster of grapes represents. Grapes and wine represent joy and celebration, to be jubilant, to be merry, right? It makes merriment. So you have this large cluster of grapes, but then the reverse of the word, or the negative context of the word, also means to miscarry or to be barren. It's like, wait, cluster of grapes and barren? Yes. Those two things can go together. It's all based upon the actions and the disposition. It's all based upon the action and disposition. So this passage, them being sent, there's two outcomes that can happen. There is the merriment of entering into the land and rejoicing and taking the land. And finally, after a year and a half, almost 2 years, being in a position to actually be in the promise of Yah, coming fresh out of captivity, and then literally being in the land, being able to give the reports that the people go in and are actually able to live in houses and to dwell and to just be in the promise. Very similar in so many ways to Genesis, right? Garden, flowing, don't have to even water it. Water's coming up. Here, it's all yours. You don't have to do anything for it. All you have to do is just take what is yours. Over and over again, we're faced with that dilemma, if you will. Does it seem like such a big problem? But the issue at every level, from Genesis all the way now here to Numbers, is fear and doubt. Fear and doubt, fear and doubt, fear and doubt. The insertion of fear and doubt over and over again. So we have Eshkol, 40 days. They cut it down. So let's do a little brief exercise on fear and doubt. So we know, of course, that fear and doubt, right, can keep you back. We know, of course, that doubt is something that, if I don't have all the facts or if something doesn't align, I don't really believe or trust it. We know that belief and fear are both biological, and they happen within systems. I want you to keep this in your mind. Belief and doubt happen within systems. If you have a system of people around you who believe in you, you are more likely to believe in yourself. And even when you find times when you doubt yourself, it is the encouragement of the people around you that puts you back into a place of belief. Same thing with doubt. If you have people around you that doubt you, even if you have a high level of self-belief, you will begin to doubt yourself. A lot of times people's doubt for you comes from their doubt in themselves and their negative feelings about themselves that have been passed on to them. I was reading this book called The Biology of Belief, and it talked about cells and the system of cells and how they function, and how belief is very much a cellular function. When we believe something, we do different things that then enact or reinforce that belief. When we doubt something, we do, both of them require do things that reinforce and enact that fear and doubt. And in both ways, we get an outcome. Both times we get a product, but only on one end do we get the product that we expect. So it's important to be in a position and be in a system that is constantly forcing you to alter your disbelief into belief. That's why Torah is important. And that's why dealing with people who believe Yah and believe Yah's promise is better than having people who remind you of your sin and the things that cause you to doubt yourself. We have to reconstruct that. You reinforce positive and law-abiding Israelites by reinforcing their belief and love for Yah, not to continue to lay on them their doubt and dysfunction, sin and fear. It's going to reproduce more doubt, dysfunction, sin and fear, and it's never going to yield belief, trust, and love, because belief, trust, and love require positive action that cannot be gained from negative reinforcement. All right? So our brains are intimately attached to things we have been told and will reject the opposite, even if the opposite is something good. So let's look at something your mind in this passage, just a little bit of like a little groundwork. Let's look at something your mind would have automatically rejected from this that will then lead you to even think that, a promised land of this sort is just a little far-fetched, right? It's a little exercise. You'll see why. All right. In this passage, it says that there is a cluster of grapes so large that two people put like a stick and then carried the grapes in between the stick. That report, for a lot of us who have food insecurity, who have a mindset, a poverty mindset, who don't think in abundance, cannot even conceive that something like that could even exist ever. Seems like, well, that was for then. Those kind of things are for then. How can that be a part of now? How can the type of abundance that Yah was promising then be a part of right now? I want you all who may have this kind of mindset, I want you to take out your phones right now while I'm teaching. I'm going through this while you're on YouTube, make another screen and Google Caleb cluster, CALEB space cluster, CLUSTER. I want you to Google that. And then for those of you who are like, no, I want you to do it for me. Okay. I'll Google it for us all. Let me pull up online and we're going to look up Caleb cluster. And some of you are already like, what? I have never, why have I never, who never told me? Ta-da. The Caleb cluster, named after Caleb, is a real thing. It is a real thing. Here's a perfect one. It is a guy, if my screen will load, on Facebook. If you click on this first one, you see that cluster of grapes? That's definitely a cluster of grapes that would have had to been carried by 2 people. Definitely. I mean, if you've ever even carried a tray of grapes are heavy. They have water in them. They have their own juices in them. Here you go. The reason why I showed you that is just like that doubt met with fact evidence can dispel doubt. The same is true when we're talking about Yah's promises. The same is true when we're talking about Yah's truth. Literally, could anyone, after you now seeing that and reading that little part of the passage that really had nothing to do with where we're going in the sense of, I mean, maybe you just read over it and it's like, I trust Yah in everything, sure. But now that you've seen it, can anybody come back to you and say, that was fake? That wasn't real. There were no clusters of grapes that big. But if a person had told you that and it never shown you evidence, you would have believed it because your mind just couldn't conceive it. But now that you've seen it, now that you've trusted in it, now that you know it, all of a sudden a person can't convince you otherwise. The issue with the spies is essentially they had all the evidence. Those people had been alive. They saw hail, frogs, lice, water, the sweetening of water at Mara, the quail, the manna coming down every day. They saw the cloud that appeared in the day and the pillar of fire by night. They literally saw the presence of Yah, the glory of Yah descend in the tabernacle. They've seen the mountain quake. They've seen the blood on the doors. They've seen the death of the firstborn. Yet they still doubt it. They had the evidence and they let fear and doubt about themselves cause them to doubt Yah. Let's keep reading. Back to the text. Okay, so cluster of grapes. Thought that was cool. If any of you are still geeking out about that, I know. So don't forget this as you're reading and studying. They stayed in the wilderness. They stayed on the journey, searching out the land for 40 days. So they went and they came to Moses and Aaron and to all the congregations. So they came back, right? And they were like, hey, bet Yah was right. They came back unto the wilderness of Paran to Kadesh, and they brought back word unto the congregation and showed them the fruit. So they showed up and they pulled up, just like I showed you guys. They pulled up with the evidence of what Yah said. Lamb flowing milk and honey, it's plush, it's bountiful. Oh my gosh, it's amazing. They came with evidence of what was in the land of promise. They had evidence of Yah's character and his ability to fight for them. Now they had evidence that that land that Yah was talking about existed. Imagine if somebody pulled up on you right now, not just me showing you that picture, but pulled up on you with grapes and stuff like that and say, hey, Yah said that all this over here is yours, go get it, right? So they showed the fruit of the land, verse 27, and they told him and said, we came into the land where you sent us, and surely it floweth with milk and honey. And this, peep this, all this over there, this is the fruit thereof. Mind you, they're in the wilderness. They got manna, there's some meat going around, but now there's fruit. What? Nevertheless, peep this. Nevertheless, but, so all this hype. Oh, Yah's promises. I'm Israel. Yah got, but wasn't on what Yah said. Everything Yah said, it checks out. Facts on facts on facts. Verse 28. But the people in the land are strong, and the cities have walls, and they're very great. And guess what? We also saw the children of Anak there. And the Amalekites dwell in the land on the south. And the Hittites, they bad, they in there. And the Jebusites and the Amorites dwell in the mountains. And the Canaanites guard the sea. and by the coast of Jordan. And Caleb was like, hey, hold up. Caleb, the Kenizzite, says, let us go up right now. Some of us got this in spirit. Let us go right now and possess it, for we are well able to overcome it. Caleb was like, I hear what y'all trying to do. And he comes to dispel the doubt immediately. He's like, I hear it. I hear what you looked at the good, and then you start taking yourself into account. So often we look at the good that's out there in the world, and then we start doing a record check on ourselves, especially those who are following Yah. We start going backwards in unworthiness of all the things that Yah said. I cast that stuff so far away. I got good for you. And we see the good and we go, nope, because my sin is too big. Remember this when I did this, remember that. I was up in the hills doing this. I was by the coast doing this. I was in the desert doing this. I got Jebusites, Amorites, and Hittites and Amalekites in my soul. Then I've never met a Jebusite, Amorite, Hittite, or Amalekite ever. We do it to ourselves. And Caleb, which is very much for us probably right now, how the Ruach is, no, do it at once. Do what Yah said now. Go and possess what he said now. You can overcome it. You're not doing it on your own. Go ahead. Verse 31. But the men that went up with him, so the same people that saw the same thing, been through the same stuff, they said, we be not able to go up against the people, for they are stronger than us. These are people that have seen fire come from the sky, day turned into night, frogs, blood, hail, pestilence, firstborn, delivered, the freaking waters parted at the Reed Sea. Literally, Pharaoh's army, who had been literally oppressing and putting whip to back and killing their children, destroyed in the waters, and then they get in front of a people and say, we can't do it. First of all, what made you think you could? We be not able to go up against these people, for they're stronger than us. And guess what they turned around and did? And they brought up an evil report of the land. They said, instead of saying what they saw, they altered it based upon their fear and doubt and gave a dysfunctional report on the land which they had searched unto the children of Israel. The 12 men and the elders sat, and they had one thing, but when it came to talking to the people, the most vulnerable people, they gave a dysfunctional report. Fear is interesting. Fear in Hebrew is yara, yod resh aleph. And it means literally to fear, right? But it means to have reverence for something. Anytime our fear causes us to doubt Yah, do not miss this. Anytime our fear or something we fear causes us to doubt Yah, it means that we have more reverence for the thing that we fear than we have for the living Elohim. Period. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. The fear is that this thing, this obstacle, this now has become my God. Because not even Yah, not even Elohim can deal with this. And as a parent, I sit and I think about the moments where I get most frustrated with my children. And the moments when I'm most frustrated with them is when they doubt me. When they doubt my ability to do what I said I was going to do. And I'm the type of person, I'm the type of parent, by the glory of Yah, and with Yah's might, of course, everything, if Yah says so. But I'm the type of parent that if I say I'm going to do something, it's because I already have the means to do it. I'm not Yah, so I have to know that I can. So then when they doubt me, when I've already made preparation for the thing that they need or want, it makes me feel away. And it makes me feel a way about them and how they feel about my ability to be their mother. How much more so then does the Elohim of heaven and earth sit and say, you are going to doubt me because of people that I created, because of water that I created, because of food that I created, because of clothing when I clothe the ground with flowers, the ground, because of housing and foxes' homes. Birds have homes. Beasts of the field have a place to rest. And you doubt me over those things because the things are very basic, unfortunately, very low. You're afraid of how a person thinks about you. You're going to run from teaching my word because somebody said something about you that wasn't true, but people don't know it wasn't true. You're going to hide because you have a past. And I know everything about you, past, present, and future. Yeah, it's like, the math ain't mathing. It doesn't add up. So literally, they said, we can't do it. So they gave a bad report on Yah because of them. How often do we give a bad report on Yah and further fear and doubt because of ourselves? Oh, Yah ain't gonna bless you if you do X, Y, and Z. Yah can't redeem you. You better not do da. You better make sure Yah gonna cut you off. Like, whoa, bro, are you cut off? Has he stopped me? We give a negative report on the goodness of Yah because of our fear. We give an evil dysfunction report on Yah because of our doubt, not giving space for Yah to do redeeming and redemptive work and deliverance for other people, because our problems and the things we've gone through and the view that we see through our petty human eyes are so low that we'll then mar other people's vision and trust in Yah. And they did. So in verse 32, they said, the land through which we have gone to search it, look at this, is a land that is eaten up by the inhabitants thereof. And all the people that we saw in it are men of great stature. That's scary. They ravish in the land and they big, they giants, they big. Really? And they said, verse 30, and there we saw giants. They saw Nephilim. You know, we scared of Nephilim. We, as Hebrews, we don't want nothing to do with the Nephilim. We don't want nothing to do with the land of fallen. And went and told people it's the fallen ones. Like, remember back because Nephilim, that term, that's the same people that were, the giants before the flood. They say it's Nephilim over there. The kids of the Nephilim over there. The sons of Anak, which come from the Nephilim, they in that land. That is scary. That is a terrible report. And then this part right here, this part got me. It changed the whole tune. They said, and guess what? And we, check this out, in our own sights, we doubt us. We've looked at us and we've looked at our battles. We've looked at us, we've looked at the enemy. We've looked at us and we've looked at our opponent. And in our eyes, we like grasshoppers. And because we like that in our eyes, I know we like that in their eyes. And the craziest thing ever is this is so us. They went into the land with no doubt. They're like, boom, gone. They in there, they bringing back clusters of grapes and they start thinking, they're like, how are we about to, and how are we going? And, oh, we this big and they this big. And I'm sure Moses, just like we're sitting here and we're befuddled as well. And I'm sure Yah is baffled and befuddled when we do this to him all the time. We'd be like, we don't have enough money. I was like, money? Money, paper that really means, okay. So, right. All right. Let's grasshoppers. Yeah, I was like, okay, let me just run this back. Let's just gather yourselves. This is anxiety at work, by the way. If you ever want to see anxiety in the text, like, where's anxiety in the Bible? This is what anxiety does. You start off here, you run yourself into the ground, and at the end of it, you're a grasshopper in a corner, just like, I'm frazzled. Literally, I was like, I made destruction happen on one side of Egypt. And in Goshen, nothing. I protected you from death, danger, disease. And we sitting here talking. What they didn't know, and you'll learn as you read the text, what they didn't know is that what Yah did, the fame of Yah Shem, we say Shem, like name, Shem. Yah's Shem had put fear of epic proportions through the lands. As you go on and you go through Joshua and other places, when you hear Rahab's report of how she's there, she's like, we scared of y'all. What? Yeah, we heard about what happened. We don't want no smoke. Like, what? The fear of Yah was already in these nations. Literally, they could have just walked through there as a multitude and they probably would have just fled. Yah had already gone before them. He put the fear in their hearts, and he was going to put the strength in their hands and in their feet and in their swords and however else they had to battle. He had already gone before them, but because they thought about how they could do it in their own strength and their own might, they didn't see it. I was having a conversation with my girls. We were going through this Torah portion, and I was telling them, I said, do not let anyone cause you to doubt and fear what Yah has told you to do. I said, because when Yah calls us to do things, we know it's Yah because there are things that we cannot do on our own. They're not tasks that we can just blink and think of in one day. They require growth. They require development. They require forgiveness. They require correction. They require repentance. They require Yah to go on the journey with us and make us into the person through experience that is going to cause us to be able to handle the task. People look at David's life and they look at, oh, David was a king, but David had to go through little experiences that made him the king that he was. Didn't make him perfect as a person, but it made him blameless, except in one thing, because in everything that he went through, Yah didn't just show him the thing and how to get to it, but he showed him how to get through it. He gave him all the tools to know how to, when he made a mistake, repent, and it made him a good leader. And in the same way, as a nation of people, as Israel, all over the world in the diaspora, we've gone through things that makes us great leaders, which gives us huge levels of compassion, which has shown us how to be Yah's light and Yah's salt to the earth. But we lose all of that when we get focused in the minor things, when we get stuck in our traumas, when we get stuck in our doubt, when we get stuck in our fear. And Yah is like, that's not what I've called you to. Yah has not given us a spirit of fear. Like, he's given us power and he's given us love and all these other things that are necessary for being the ones who the scripture said in the beginning, who would literally bless the whole world. It's not our perfection. It's our perfection. It's the way we've perfected repentance. It's the way we're perfecting obedience. It's the way we're perfecting trust. It's the way we're perfecting dispelling doubt and fear that make us be a reflection of the one that we're attached to. Yah was like, I've gone before you. How dare you look at you small when I'm big? I'm big. So if I'm big, stand behind me and let me clear your path. I'm before you, but you keep putting yourself in front of me. It's like, no. So let's see the after effects. The last part of this wraps up quickly. So the congregation, when they heard this, they were like, oh, no problem. We got this. No, that wasn't the result. And the congregation lifted up their voice and they cried. They were like, man, like, it's making me sad. Just think about it. Like, when is this ever going to be over? We've left the only home we knew, even if it was depressing. For many of us, we've left the only faith we knew, even if it was wrong. At least I was happy sometimes. I feel like I'm always without. I feel like I'm always always fighting against not doing things right. I didn't keep this feast right. I didn't wear these fringes right. What kind of head wrap? This camp says this group says this. Yah said this was going to be a blessing, that when I turned to him and started obeying him, it would be a blessing. And every time I turn around, the report, not Yah, the report is always putting me, the preaching is always putting me, the teaching is always putting me back in a place of depression. I wish I hadn't known. We look at their murmuring that we're going to read and we immediately go off and feel negative about our ancestors. But many of us have felt these same feelings right now in this walk. Many of us have felt these same feelings, bearing the burden of the traditions of men and what imperfect people think about us based upon their own self-doubt and fear. And we carry that, and it's exasperating. We're tired as heck. And I didn't even want to say heck. I had another word that came to mind, right? Tired of being tired, of constantly seeing the beauty on the horizon, meeting people, finding people we think are like-minded, and then people go off and get into their own grasshopper minds about things, and then they become contentious and they fear and doubt, and when good things happen, they tear it up because they're still stuck in that depressed and depraved and disenfranchised mind. Because of the way these people thought, and because of the report that they brought back, even though they saw good, they reported bad because they're so used to bad. Right? Go back to Exodus. When I showed you, go back to Exodus 6. Like, no, I'm trying to give you this, but because I'm trying to give you this, go to verse 9, Exodus 6 and 9. It says, and because of their broken spirits and because of their traumas, they rejected it. These are the same people. Remember, I told you 2-year time frame. People are still alive. 2 years, same people. And this is what they've done. The people wept all night. And the children of Israel murmured against Moses and Aaron. Look at the spiral. And the whole congregation said to them, why didn't Yah just leave us to die in Egypt? Or did Yah just want us to get out and die in the wilderness? You see, their response isn't a response based upon an evil report. That's their response. He says, wherefore, why hath Yah brought us unto this land? Let us get close enough to see it so that we could just die. Like, their response based upon the report kind of makes sense because the report was a lie. But they didn't have the amount of inner relationship and fortitude to rebel back against 12. You had 600,000 plus women and children hear the report of 10 men, and it tore up everything. It says, are our wives and our children supposed to be prey? Were it not better for us to return to Egypt? And they said to one another, they were like, forget this. Guess what they said? Let's go ahead and make us a captain. Let's make us a leader. And let's go back to Egypt. We're just going to apologize. We're going to just whip us on the back. We'll just take whatever we can get. We're not doing this. They were serious. And Moses and Aaron fell on their faces before the assembly of the congregation of children of Israel. They fell down. And Joshua the son of Nun and Caleb of Jephunneh, which were of them that searched out the land, they ripped their clothes. They were just like, oh no, the doubt of millions, the bad report to all. Once the doubt is sown, like I told you in the psychology of doubt, it's hard, even when you give something good, to dispel it. Because why would these 10 people lying? Y'all two tell the truth. How I know they're not telling the truth and y'all lying? Right? It's fewer of you, it's more of them, and now we all agree with them. So then Caleb and Joshua said, the land which we passed through to search it is good. It's exceedingly good. If Yah delights enough, if Yah finds pleasure in us, if Yah favors us, if Yah really loves us, don't you believe that Yah loves us? Then he's going to bring us into the land. That's what he's been saying, literally, since forever. He's spoken this to our ancestors. Imagine them convincing them. He says, no, he's giving it to us. It's a land flowing with milk and honey. It's abundant. So, but hey, y'all, please, do not rebel. Do not rebel. The word here is marar. It literally means don't rise and revolt against Yah. Don't do it. do not do that. And do not fear the people of the land, for they are bread for us. He was talking. He's like, it's easy eating. It's a meal. We're going to eat. Like, it's not even a thing. Their defense, see, they saw it. Their defense is departed from them. Their opportunity, what Yah told Abraham, he says, you have to wait till the fullness of their sin has come. Meaning, Yah is done with them. And they don't have anybody to fight for them. And then he goes and he says, but Yah is with us. Don't be afraid of them. Don't reverence them. Don't put them above Yah. They have no God. Yah has rejected them and chosen us. It's easy. Guess what the congregation said, verse 12. But the congregation said, stone them. It was over. They heard all this. They're trying to reason with them in their doubt. But guess what happens when you're in this area of anxiety and fear and doubt? The mind is irrational. He's giving rational evidence of what is to come. And they would rather kill them, Joshua, Caleb, Moses, and Aaron, than to divorce from this fear. We've all had it. People who've gotten upset with us because we tell them good about them. He's telling them good. They'd rather hear the doubt than to hear the good. Instead of saying, he says, if Yah's willing to favor us, he's already said he would. So now what? So then when it came to the killing, then Yah's like, this has gotten out of hand. This was supposed to be so simple. It was supposed to be so easy. Y'all was supposed to go look at the land, bring back a good report, and the people supposed to be like, yeah, we going up, we got this, hype them. And then I'm going to go in and I'm going to do the thing. Like, this is simple, right? When Yah pulls up on the scene, and for all of you who don't know what pulls up on the scene means, when the Yah of heaven and earth and of glory appears before the people, when Yah pulls up on the scene, it's never good. Never good. Yah's sitting back and watching all this. He's like, now y'all gonna try to kill the only few faithful people here. Yah pulls up. Verse 11. And Yah said unto Moses, how long will this people provoke me? The word here for provoke, I'm gonna pull it up. The word here for provoke means to treat disrespectfully, to discard, to act like I'm not who I am, to spurn me. How long are the people going to provoke me? Like, this is disrespectful. When Yah has to say, this is real disrespectful, Yah's like, I'm Yah. After my name, my fame, my glory, like, how long are they going to treat me like this? Because this is going too far. And how long will it be before they believe me? It turns something in me to think that I sit in that seat where Yah goes, how long before you stop disrespecting me and you believe me when I say I'm going to do what I'm going to do for you? And you just walk in that. Walk in it like you walk in breathing. You don't doubt air. They can talk about bad air quality, UV rays, ozone layer, and none of us stop breathing. None of us stop doubting the fact that we can breathe. None of us, when you start getting upwards, you might, but none of us, or if you hurt yourself, many of us don't doubt when we get ready to walk on our legs that we're going to walk. None of us doubt that when we get ready to feed our face and put hand to mouth that we know that where our mouth is. None of us doubt that when we open our eyes to look and see that we're not going to see. None of us doubt that when we lay our heads to go to sleep that we're going to wake up in the morning. Yet we doubt the God of seeing and walking and breathing and feeding and so forth and so on. It's hilarious when we really think about it. We trust in the temporal and we don't trust in the infinite. We trust in ourselves and our abilities to speak. When you open your mouth, you trust that you're going to speak, but we don't know how to listen and hear and trust the words when Yah speaks. And I sit in that same seat and Yah is like, how long are you going to keep disrespecting me? And how long is it going to be before that you believe in me like you believe in that car that you turned on that you didn't make, that was made by man? How long are you going to believe in that gas you put in your car that ain't water? How long are you going to believe in the temporal things before you believe in me? He says, for all the signs, for all the oath, for all the things which I've shown, like after all you've seen me do for you, you still think I'm gonna leave you? You still think I'm gonna let your enemies devour you? I'm literally showing you, literally right now, showing you a land after you've worshiped a golden calf. You've murmured, you've complained, you've called the bread from Shamayim that I've given you trifling, light bread. This, I don't want it. You've talked about going back to your captors. Yet I still have you right here on the edge of the promise saying, it's still yours because I love you. It's still yours because I've set my favor upon you. It's still yours because I'm a man of my word and I cannot lie. I still do it. Here I am. He says, how long? How long? Yah said, you know what? Because of this, though. And when Yah says how long and then answers is how long, oh, it's all bad. He says, you know what? It's been too long. I'm going to smite them with pestilence and I'm going to disinherit them. Meaning I'm going to take back their heritage and get it. And I'm going to make of you all a nation greater and mightier than they. This ain't the first time. And Moses is like, oh, but wait. What about if the Egyptians hear it? I'm going to go paraphrase through it. He says, and the inhabitants of the land, they've heard that you are Yah and this is your people. And these people have seen you face to face. The cloud, he's like, given all the things. He's like, people know. He said, if you kill the people, like all together as one man, then they're going to say that Yah is going to just kill people. It's funny because that's what people tell people about Yah. So interesting. The fear that people have of Yah and the people that don't want to serve Yah is like, I don't want to serve Yah. I want another God. I'm going to make a new God. I'm going to make a demigod. I'm going to make like a second version of Yah because Yah kills his people. We want a God that's not going to kill his people. The ill report of the nature of Yah for his people is what literally is causing people's doubt. They're like, Moses like, no. Because if you kill them all, then when people make a mistake, they're going to think that you're not going to forgive them and trust him. And that's not the kind of Yah you are. When they do things or when they have an opportunity, he's like, when they have an opportunity, like they're going to feel like something like you're going to be a bad guy. And that's not who you are. When they make mistakes, they're not going to think you're going to forgive them. If you do that, it's going to lock people in to thinking that when they sin, they have to keep beating themselves up over it, that there's no repentance. They can't come to you. And after they sin, they have to keep groveling because you have no good for them. And they have to always feel doubt and they have to feel less than worthy. And isn't that how we feel? Isn't that how we've been caused to feel because of people's interpretation of Yah? So Moses goes on in verse 16, he says, they're going to think that you're not able. Isn't that how y'all feel? Because of how people have reported how Yah is based upon their lies, because they're not really following him, but then also based upon their own fear and doubt. They're going to think that you'll just kill them. Isn't that how people feel about Yah? Moses says, no, but I beseech thee, let the power of my master be great according to what you have spoken. Because see, that may be how people are representing you. And that may be what this instance could be provoking, but what you told me and what I've seen is what you said. Because this is what Yah said when he passed by and he spoke of himself. He says he's long suffering and he's great of mercy and he's forgiving iniquity and transgression and by no means clearing the guilty. But he visits the iniquity, the twisting of his word upon the fathers of the children into the third and fourth generation. But it says that he loves them beyond that. He's like reminding Yah of who he is. See, he reminds him, and in the reminding, there's a pardon. We have to be reminded of who Yah is. It's not that, and I want us to remember this. It's not that fear and doubt and trauma don't rise up. It's not the idea of suppression. It's the fact that when they do, they're met with a reminder of who Yah is compared to the things that we fear and doubt. It's not the issue of having feelings and emotions. It's the acting on the feelings and the emotions in reverence above who Yah is. That's the problem. That's the problem. It should be met with who the true character, so that the true character of who Yah is literally dispels the false evidence appearing real, the fear, that it pushes that down and then speaks truth to it. It speaks the word to it. It speaks the beautiful bountifulness of what Yah has promised is spoken to fear and doubt and casts it out, cast it aside. How we reverse fear and doubt is by knowing the character of Yah, which is one of the promises of true deliverance, to know Yah so that we can speak to this fear and doubt and depression and trauma and say, but my Yah is long suffering and he's great in mercy. The things that are causing me to be anxious and be doubtful and to fear, he forgives iniquity and transgression, but he's not clearing the guilty without repentance. And if we keep having this iniquity and twisting it, then it's going to visit our children. It doesn't just stop with us. So literally, Moses says, pardon, I beseech thee, the iniquity, the twisting. Iniquity is the twisting of the truth, and it's twisted because of our fear and our doubt and our trauma. Forgive the iniquity of this people according to the greatness of your mercy. As thou hast forgiven this people, he says, because you've been doing it. It's not asking him to do anything new. You've been forgiving them from Egypt until now. That is how we reverse doubt. We seek the pardon. We seek the pardon. It's interesting because he shalachs them, he sends them out. And then the word for pardon is it's both a samic and a selah. It literally means to be indulgent toward them, to forgive them. Because they disobeyed in the shalach, he is to selah them. And he says, pardon, I beseech, the iniquity of the people according to the greatness of your mercy, and forgive them. And then Yah says, check this out. I have pardoned them according to your word. How simple is it to move from the sin and the iniquity of doubt to the pardon? It was a simple move, but the issue is the people's hearts. Yah was like, Moses, I hear you. But the people have a problem because their doubt is beyond. Their doubt is beyond just doubt. It's fear and reverence for this, and they don't love me. And I see that now. And because I see that now, I can't engage with them like I can engage with people that love me. I'm going to continue to do what I do. I'm going to continue to perform my task, but they don't love me. And he says this, he says, I pardon according to their word, verse 21, but truly as I live, not a dead Elohim, not a far Elohim, not a ghost Elohim, but as surely as I live, all the earth shall be filled with the glory of Yah, because of all those men which have seen my glory. They've seen my presence and my miracles, which I did in Egypt and in the wilderness, and they've tempted me these 10 times and have not hearkened to my voice. They have not Shema, they've not obeyed me. They've heard me. So he says, surely I swear, they shall not see. He says, surely they shall not see the land which I swear to their fathers. You're not going to see it. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. Neither shall any of them that provoke me see it. But my servant Caleb, which hath another spirit. Caleb is the Hebrew word. Kelev is the Hebrew word for dog. And it could be a negative thing, or it could literally mean one who is loyal. And I've also heard this name could be a compound word, which is called lev, with all of his heart. And he gives a definition of who Caleb is and his name. He says, because he hath the spirit within him and hath followed me fully. Imagine the faithfulness of a dog, and imagine how somebody does something chalev, with their whole heart. Him will I bring to the land thereunto. He went, and his seed shall possess it. I told you to look up Caleb. This is interesting. Now the Amalekites and the Canaanites dwell in the valley. Tomorrow turn you and get you into the wilderness by the way of the Red Sea. He was like, okay, I'm not, but y'all going, go back into the wilderness. Go back, get from off, get back, go back into hiding. Don't even put yourself out there. Take them back to the wilderness. It's crazy. You got that close to the promise and you're told to turn around. Told to turn around because they rejected their deliverance. And now their children have to bear their unfaithfulness. Verse 26, and Yah spoke unto Moses, wrapping it up, spoke unto Moses and Aaron saying, how long shall I bear? How long shall I deal with? How long shall I exist with this dysfunctional congregation which murmur against me? He says, I heard the murmurings of the children of Israel, but they murmur against me. We think we're doing against our problems and our doubt, we're doing against Yah. Say unto them, as truly as I live, saith Yah, as ye have spoken in my ears, because I'm hearing you, I'm going to do unto you. So if you think you're going to die out here, guess what? You're going to die out here. So interesting. We talked about earlier, the psychology of doubt is if you think it, you're going to produce it. If you think and you focus on disbelief, then disbelief becomes a part of your life. If you think something's going to happen to you, you're going to do and perpetuate actions that cause that thing to happen to you. If you are always thinking bad is going to happen, all you be able to focus in on is the bad. Literally, this is here in the text. When we read the text, I told you, you kind of stop at some points. When you read the text and you see certain things, you have to look at them fully. He's literally saying that very thing. As a man thinketh, so is he. Because you think you're going to die out here, guess what? You're going to do things that are going to cause you to die out here. You guys are doing death-worthy things, and you're going to die and be stuck in this loop because you are stuck. Not because Yah got you stuck, because you are stuck mentally, physically, and emotionally. Yes, things have happened. Yes, but I've brought you out. But you keep wanting to live there. So guess what? The byproduct of a mindset that is in a depressed state is going to yield depression. It's going to yield anxiety. Even if you're getting good, you're going to still think in a deficit mindset. He says your carcasses are going to fall in the wilderness. And all that were numbered of you according to your whole number from 20 years old and upwards, which have murmured against me, doubtless ye shall not come into the land. You bet you won't. You won't. And when you think about the next 40 years that you're going to read about, if you go from Numbers and then all the way to Deuteronomy until they enter in Joshua and Judges, until they enter the promised land, you're going to see that it was them. It was sons of Korah. It was all these issues over and over again that literally they killed themselves in the wilderness. I'm going to let y'all kill yourselves. You're going to keep doing things. And then you're going to keep doing it. So no, why would I let you come into the land? And what's even sadder, and I'm just going to kind of jump forward and I'll jump back. What's even more sad is that the children of these people watch how Yah chastised them in the wilderness and watch the 40 years of wandering. So if the kids were 20 and upwards, so you're talking about 19 and under, 20 and under, so they would be 60. So they went through adulthood. And some of them, if they were small children, of course, so if they were, infants, then they were 40 when they went into the land. And you're talking about 40-year-old people who had watched their parents their whole lives do something, and then they got to the land, did the same thing. Same thing. Crazy. Crazy. And many of us are on some of those same cycles, and this is just a wake-up call. Get off. Get off. Just get off get off. He says, I swore to you, you're not coming in this land. I swore that you were going to dwell in, because you're going to do it. Except for Caleb, the son of Jephunneh, and Joshua, the son of Nun. Remember, they are older. They were older. They were, I think, when they came out of, and you can look it up, there's some timelines. I believe at the Exodus, they were about 19, 20, around the age. So, and he's speaking this, they're above 20. They're in their 20s, but they're right above 20. So he gives a clause for them. He's like, y'all gonna be all right. Because I know they're gonna be like, well, they can't go in either. No. He mentions them by name because of their faithfulness. In verse 31, he said, but your little ones, which you said should be appraised, but those kids that you said I was going to let die out here, I'm going to prove to your kids that you're a liar. I'm going to let the kids that you said we're not going to make it out here. So they're going to walk and their shoes not going to wear out. And they're going to walk out here and their clothes not going to go bad. And they're going to eat and they are going to see that what you said was impossible, I'm going to do. I'm going to let them see it so that you won't make a lie out of me. He says, your little ones that you said would die in the wilderness, them will I bring in, and they shall know the land which you have despised. You rejected the land. But as for you, your bodies, they're going to die and they're going to fall in this wilderness. And your children, because of your fear and doubt, your children are going to have to wander for 40 years. It's not that our fear and doubt just stops the promise, but our inaction and our inability to focus and go through the stages of full deliverance hinder our children. They hinder our next generation. How selfish of us that we won't do the work so that they don't have to experience the same things. But we say, I don't want my kids to have to struggle like I struggle. And I don't want my kids to have to go through what I went through. But you won't talk to them. You won't share with them. You won't grow. You won't seek help. You won't change your ways so that they have to then inherit from you, their parent, the wickedness that you inherited from your parents. I love them so much. I just can't. I don't want nothing. No, but you won't do the work. So then your children are forced to be in the wilderness for things that are not even theirs. And they carry fear, doubt, and trauma because you won't fix your crap. They have to then carry your stuff. I don't want my kids to have to do this for me. And I'm not going to, my kids, I want them to have the things I never had. Give them peace then. Give them joy. Give them deliverance. Give them the ability to know Yah without fear, shame, and guilt. Let them understand their faith and let them explore without your adding conjecture to everything and causing them to be depressed every time they make a mistake. Let them learn repentance. Let them learn restoration. Don't cause your fears to them be cast upon them. If you love them, then do something different. Unless literally they're going to bear your, the text here says they're going to bear your whoredoms, but literally it means they're going to bear your unfaithfulness. Your inability to be faithful and to trust in Yah, they're going to have to bear that on themselves. So then another thing goes on, he goes, and just so you see it in its fullness, because it's a judgment, I thought this is really cool. I don't know how many people knew why it was 40 years. But if you didn't, you'll never unsee this ever again. Verse 34, he says, after the number of days in which you search the land, even 40 days, each day for a year, shall you bear your iniquity, even 40 years. So the reason why it was 40 years is because for every day that they were in that land and saw Yah's promise, for every day that Yah literally allowed them to see, and for the false report and how it affected the people and the people that believed the false report, for every day of them seeing good, and of every day that Yah did good and proved that he said what this land was what he said it was, for every day it was a year. Says you're going to bear your iniquity. See, that is the byproduct of sin. The byproduct of presumptuous sin is that you have to then bear your iniquity. The beauty of literally repentance is that Yah says, I'll take it. But when you put yourself in a position to contend with Yah, and when you continue to fear and doubt Yah, he's like, you know what? Bear then the thing that you said that was unbearable. Take it. Because I'm not good enough. Because you don't want to do what I said to do. Because you don't want to obey my laws, statutes, and commandments. Then you bear your own iniquity. That is why atonement, that is why the sacrifice of Yah as our salvation is so imperative. That's why Mashiach is so imperative, because we cannot bear our own iniquity. The ones who bore it, the older ones, they died in their iniquity. They had to die in bearing their own sin. They didn't get to reverse it. You have to live with it. You made your bed, now lay in it. Now, that's not a declaration against their eternal souls, because it is the hope that in being in the wilderness and having a judgment this strong against you, that in that judgment, you then get into a right relationship with Yah. But in everyday bearing that iniquity, you're reminded of why you're there. It's the same thing with the 400 years of captivity. I am so tired of hearing people talk about white people and the transatlantic slave trade and what happened in that. And you literally can't see the fact that you had to bear your iniquity, and that we're continuing to bear the iniquity of our forefathers as long as we continue to live in the fear, doubt, and trauma of that experience, and not look and say, Yah, you have now taken us to be your people and we want full deliverance. Get over yourselves. Yah will help you get over it, but you got to first get over yourself. And he says, and you shall know my breach of promise. You breach my promise. You shall know my breach of promise. This is how you're going to know. Verse 35, I, Yah, have said, you will surely do it until all this evil congregation that are gathered together against me in this wilderness, they shall be consumed, and there they shall die. And the men which Moses sent to search the land, who returned and made up all the congregation to murmur against them, the ones who slandered, they died. He killed them. Those 10 dead. So then guess what happens? I'm going to just paraphrase the rest. After that, what ends up happening is the people are like, oh, snap. The two who we were ready to kill, they were right. And the others who came with the false report, they lied. We believed a lie, and now we don't get to go in the promise. Now we have a 40-year judgment against us. So guess what they try to do? The thing that we all try to do, unfortunately. They were like, I'm going to fix it now. No, I'm going to fix it. I'm going to do it now. I'm going to do it now. Yeah, I'm going to do it now. So then they were like, okay, let's go up. We're going to go into the land. And Moses was like, no, you're not. Yah said to go back into the wilderness. They're like, no, we see it now. We see it. We get it. They were lying. We believe them. We want to go now. Nope. So for many of us, the doubt and the fear and the trauma that the adversary plays in our heads does that same thing. We believe the adversary. We believe the negative things the negative reports the adversary brings against us. The adversary can only bring to us our past because he doesn't know our future. He can only go back in the mud and get the past, the things that people in their own doubt and fear and anxiety and depression got to grab onto and bring those things up. But he doesn't know what Yah has for you in the future. And so then you'll believe the account of yourself based upon the past. And you'll reject what Yah has for you in the future. And then guess what? All of a sudden you'll see, oh, I got duped. I was in the garden. I had everything. And through doubt, I got duped. Yah's going to kick me out now. But there's no going back to before the doubt, before you acted on your fear and your doubt. So then guess what? You're left with the lie. And you have to live with the lie. You have to live on the other side of that. So messed up. The people were like, we were deceived. And many people in this life are going to look on the other side of the right now, on the other side of having the word, on the other side of people preaching and teaching and saying, hey, don't do what the world does. Don't follow their ways. That's not how it goes. Yah created things to be a certain way. Don't look at how the society is going and creating their own rules and their own balances. Don't look at how loud the voice of society seems. Don't look at how great their displays of pride and iniquity are. Don't look at that and think that's right. Don't look at that and think that the majority is right, and then follow the majority and then find yourself in trouble because it was the 2 people that were right and it was the 10 that were wrong. Don't do it, because then once you see that it was wrong, you're going to be weeping and crying. It is a perfect picture without, hell and brimstone, but it's a perfect picture of the last days where it says, we didn't know, we were deceived. And he's like, you saw me. I promised you, I had good for you. And you trusted in the voice of the loud instead of the promise that I had, because of your doubt and your fear and your own evil and wicked inclinations and your own sin and dysfunction. You feared that over me. And so you didn't get the promise. And so then they had to then live out their life and die not receiving the promise because they doubted. They were too fearful to actually live in the truth of the word and experience the abundance that they chose to go with the negative. So guess what they did? They said, no, we're going to go up. We're going to go fight. We get it. Those men were wrong. Yah killed them. You showed us. We know what you said about the 40 years. We don't want that as our punishment. We're going to go up and fight. And guess what happened? Guess what happened? Literally, those guys died. The people heard all the sayings of Moses and they mourned greatly. Then the next morning they got up and they said, all right, we be here. And we're going to go to the place that Yah promised, for we have sinned. We get it. We sinned. All right. We got it. We got it. We missed the mark, but we're on it. And Moses said, wherefore? Why? How are y'all going to literally just transgress the commandment of Yah? You didn't want to do it when he said to do it. And then when he said not to do it, now you want to do it. Oh, I know people like that. People is me. But it shall not prosper. He said, nope, it's not going to work. You have to do the thing when Yah says to do the thing, or it's not going to work. Moses said, verse 42, go not up, for Yah is not among you. And if you go, you're going to be smitten. You're going to die. He says, don't go so that you get killed. Don't do it. He says, for the Amalekites and the Canaanites are there before you, and you are going to fall by the sword because you turned away from Yah, and Yah is not going to be with you. It's too late. It's too late. You let your fear and doubt cause you to not do it. That means that even in fear and doubt, you have to move. You have to do. You have to do, even if you fear and doubt and trust and speak the truth to your fear and doubt and move forward, because the opportunity may not be there when you give into the fear and doubt. Verse 44, but they presumed to go up to the hilltop. Nevertheless, the Ark of the Covenant and Moses and them, the ones that they didn't leave the camp. Y'all on your own. The Amalekites came down and the Canaanites which dwelt in the hill, and they smote them and discomfited them. They got their butts whooped. Many people say they will believe if they saw something, but the reality is you're not going to believe if you don't believe. The last part is evidence that there comes a time when it can be too late, when fear and doubt can make it too late. I'm not this enough. I'm not thin enough. I'm not X, Y, and Z. I don't have, Yah is like, move. I did this, but I'm calling you. But you don't, but I do know. I've known you before your mother's womb. I formed you. I know everything about you. And I'm saying, I still have good for you. I have good for you. And it's not something that you earn through reversing the old. It's by walking in the good right now. We cannot fix the sin from before. Cannot fix where we missed the mark, but we can strengthen our ability to consistently hit the mark moving forward. If we don't, then our blessing and our deliverance is devoured by doubt. If we don't, then our blessing and our deliverance is then devoured by doubt. And that's not the end that Yah has for us. The end that Yah has for us is so much greater than doubt. It's so much greater than fear. It's so much more. 2 verses and I'm out of your way. 2 verses. I need you guys to hear this and take this to heart. It's not just about inheriting a physical, and it's part of it, but doing the work and moving toward the process so that when you get there, you've walked with Yah through so many things, and Yah has delivered you to and through so many things that every time there's a giant before you, every time there's a hill before you, every time there's a mountain before you, that you take it one step at a time, knowing that Yah's with you climbing to the top, because Yah seeks for you to succeed. He has good for you. He's already given it to you because in his word, he said he would. So then we have to just walk in it. And that means in the day-to-day things. And even if you're not the one that gets to go into the promised land, that you literally set up and position your generations after you so that they have the tools and are equipped to know how to combat fear, doubt, disbelief, anxiety, and depression that comes from all of these things. And they're able to walk in Yah's promise. So let's look at Let me go a little backwards. Let's go to Psalm 44. Says, it's funny, this is from the sons of Korah. We have heard with our ears, O Elohim, our fathers have told us what works you did in their days, in times of old, how you did drive out the heathen with your hand and you planted them, how you did afflict the people and cast them out. For they got not the land in possession by their own sword, neither did their own arm save them, but your right hand and your arm and the light of your countenance, because you had a favor unto them. You art my king, O Elohim. Command deliverances for Jacob. Through thee will we push down our enemies. Through your name will we tread them under that rise up against us. For I will not trust in my bow, neither shall my sword save me, but you have saved us from our enemies and has put them to shame that hated us. In Elohim we boast all the day long and praise your name forever, Selah. But thou hast cast off and put us to shame, and goest not forth with our armies. You makest us to turn back from the enemy, and they which hate us spoil for themselves. You have given us like sheep appointed for meat, and have scattered us among the heathen. You sold your people for nothing, and did not increase their wealth by their price, your wealth by their price. You made us a reproach to our neighbors, a scorn and a derision to them that are round about us. You made us a byword among the heathen, a shaking of the head among the people. My confusion is continually before me, and the shame of my face has covered me. For the voice of him that reproach and blaspheme by reason of the enemy and avenger. All this is come upon us, yet have we not forgotten you, neither have we dealt falsely in your covenant. Our heart is not turned back, neither have our steps declined from your way. You have sore broken us in the place of dragons and covered us with the shadow of death. If we have forgotten the name of our Elohim or stretched out our hands to a strange God, shall not Elohim search this out? For he knoweth the secrets of the heart. Yea, for your sake are we killed all the day long. We are counted as sheep for the slaughter. Awake, why sleepest thou, O Yah? Arise, cast us not off forever. Wherefore hide your face from us, and wherefore have you hidden your face and forgot our affliction and our oppression? For our soul is bowed down to the dust. Our belly cleaveth unto the earth. Arise for our help and redeem us for your mercy's sake. They saw that, and that hit home for me. Oh my goodness, it hit home. But then watch this. Deuteronomy 4. Now therefore hearken, O Israel, unto the statutes and unto the judgments, which I teach you, for to do them, that ye may live. And go in and possess the land which Yah your Elohim of your fathers gives you. You shall not add unto the word which I command you, neither shall you diminish from it, that ye may keep the commandments of Yah your Elohim, which I command you. Your eyes have seen what Yah did because of Baal Peor, for all the men that followed Baal Peor. Yah your Elohim has destroyed them from among you. But ye that did cleave unto Yah your Elohim are alive, every one of you this day. Behold, I have taught you statutes and judgments, even as Yah my Elohim commanded me, that you should do so in the land whether you go to possess it. Keep therefore and do them, for this is your wisdom and your understanding in the sight of the nations, which shall hear all these statutes and say, surely this great nation is a wise and understanding people. For what nation is there so great who hath Elohim so nigh unto them, as Yah our Elohim is in all things that we call upon him for. And what nation is there so great that hath statutes and judgments so righteous as this law, which I have set before you this day? Only take heed to yourself and keep your soul diligently, lest you forget the things which your eyes have seen, and lest they depart from your heart all the days of your life. But teach them to your sons and to your sons' sons, especially the day that you stoodest before Yah, your Elohim in Horeb, when Yah said unto me, gather me the people together, and I will make them hear my words, that they may learn to fear me all the days that they shall live upon the earth, and that they teach their children. And ye came near and stood under the mountain, and the mountain burned with fire unto the midst of heaven with darkness, clouds and thick darkness. And Yah spake unto you out of the midst of the fire. You heard the voice of Yah, but saw no similitude. Only you heard a voice, and he declared unto you his covenant, which he commanded you to perform, even 10 commandments, and he wrote them upon two tables of stone. And Yah commanded me at that time to teach you the statutes and judgments, that ye might do them in the land whither ye go over to possess it. Take ye therefore good heed unto yourselves, for ye saw no manner or similitude on the day that Yah spake unto you in Horeb out of the midst of the fire, lest ye corrupt yourselves and make you a graven image, the similitude of any figure, the likeness of male or female, the likeness of any beast that is on earth, the likeness of any winged fowl that flieth in the air, the likeness of anything that creepeth on the ground, the likeness of any fish that is in the waters beneath the earth. And lest thou lift up your eyes unto heaven, when thou seest the sun, the moon, and the stars, even all the hosts of heaven shouldst be driven to worship them and serve them, which Yah your Elohim hath divided into all the nations under the whole heaven. But Yah hath taken you and brought you forth out of the iron furnace, even out of Egypt, to be unto him a people of inheritance. To be unto him a people of inheritance, as ye are this day. Furthermore, Yah was angry with me for your sakes, and sware that I should not go over Jordan, that I should not go into that good land which Yah had given thee for inheritance. But I must die in this land. I must not go over Jordan, but ye shall go over and possess that good land. Take heed unto yourselves, lest ye forget the covenant of Yah your Elohim, which he made with you, and make you graven images or likenesses of anything which Yah your Elohim has forbidden you. For Yah your Elohim is a consuming fire, even a jealous Elohim. When thou shalt beget children and children's children, you shall remain long in the land, and shall corrupt yourselves and make graven images or the likeness of anything. And you are going to do evil in the sight of Yah to provoke him to anger. I call heaven and earth to witness against you this day, that ye shall soon utterly perish off the land, whereunto ye go over Jordan to possess it. Ye shall not prolong your days upon it, but shall utterly be destroyed. And Yah, repeat this is Deuteronomy 4, not 28. And Yah shall scatter you among the nations, and you shall be left few in number among the heathen, whither Yah shall lead you. And there you shall serve gods, the work of men's hands, wood and stone, which neither see nor hear nor eat nor smell. But if from thence, this is why I said it was good, I read the whole thing. But if from thence thou shalt seek Yah your Elohim, you will find him, if you seek him with all your heart and with all your soul. And when thou art in tribulation, that's why fear and doubt, they'll have no place. When you are in tribulation and all these things are come upon you, even in the latter days, that's us. If thou turn to Yah your Elohim and be obedient to his voice, for Yah your Elohim is a merciful Elohim. He will not forsake thee, neither destroy thee, nor forget the covenant of your fathers, which he swore unto them. For ask now of the days that are past, which were before you, since the day Elohim created man on earth, and ask from one side of heaven unto the other, whether there hath been any such thing as this great thing is, or hath been heard like it. Did ever, oh my goodness, did ever people hear the voice of Elohim speak out of the midst of fire? As thou hast heard and lived. Oh, the tear and the cough got me. This is where we are. Yah is good to us. Fear and doubt have no place. He is delivering us. He has delivered us. And we can ask to the ends of the earth. And the report is still true that Yah is so merciful and long-suffering and good to us, his people. So now, as you go out and when Yah sends you, back to the title, know that it's not by your might. It's not by your power. It's not by your will. It's not by your ability, but because of who he is. And when fear and doubt rise up, we know how to put it down and to move forward because Yah has thought of us and wants to see the expected end of us if only we just yield ourselves and be obedient. I know that was long, but I say it all the time. That's why it's recorded. So you can go back. But I didn't want to leave anything to be desired when it came to knowing how Yah sees us, why fear and doubt can exist, and that as we move forward, that we know that Yah has gone before us and we walk in that. And where we walk and where we misstep, we repent and we continue to walk because Yah has good for you. Yah has good for you. For those on YouTube Live, where there is a link posted, and I don't know if I can post it now, but there is a link on Patreon, and it's a live. You can see it. You can jump on at the end of our Jeremiah studies, or at the end of any studies I do on Patreon. We talk after, and everybody can talk and share. Bring your respectful dialogue into the space if you wish. But that's the end of it here on the live in, and then we're going to jump on over to the Zoom side so I can see y'all face to face. All right. I hope you guys have a wonderful Yom Rishon. It's Sunday, first day of the week, and that Yah allows this word